my tubies, my Teletubbies. It's me, Sheila, True Love. I always like to make a live video so you can see that I do look close to the pictures that I post of myself. Now, remember, I don't have on my eyelashes, my fake eyelashes, and I don't have on the makeup, whatever, but it's still me, Sheila, True Love. It's still me. And yes, I do look similar to what my pictures are like. Anyway, what we're going to do right now is we're going to talk. This is coming from Top Think, which is amazing because I learned a lot of things. I'm the type of person that I like to learn something new every day. So as I learn new things, I figured I'll share them with you because maybe you're like me. You want to learn something new each and every day also. Today we're going to talk about reasons why people may be ignoring you. Have you ever wondered that? Have you ever been ignored? Personally, me, I don't find a problem with all that nonsense because I'm not really a person who really cares that much about attention. That's never been my thing. I care about attention. If I'm talking to you, I'd like your attention. If I'm trying to teach you something, then I would like your attention. But other than that, if you ever hung out with Sheila True Love, you'll notice how I always wear shades. 9 times out of 10, I usually wear shades because if you notice, when a person wears shades, people tend to look away from them. They look away. They don't sit there and stare at you. They just look away, A lot of people in this world, they need this constant attention. I don't understand any of that, but I'm not going to knock other people either because, to each his own. Anyway, I want to share with you some of the reasons why people may be ignoring you. Okay, here we go.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Top Think. Today, we're going to learn about 10 reasons why people are ignoring you. Now let's begin. Number 1, you wait to be acknowledged. Do you need someone to acknowledge you before you speak up? Do you always wait for someone else to ask you a question? If you're not taking the initiative, that could be the reason why people are ignoring you. Countless people make this same mistake every single day. All right, let's say you have something you want to add to the conversation. You plan everything out in your head, but you don't know when or how to make yourself heard. So you wait for someone else to give you an opening. You need them to invite you into the conversation. But that rarely ever happens. If you don't speak up, no one's going to do it for you. It might feel like you're being ignored, but in reality, you're silencing yourself.
Yeah, that's a possibility sometimes when you're in a group of people, which I personally don't like to be in a large group of people because I always feel that someone is going to be neglected. Personally, me, I like to be with maybe 1 or 2 other people, so it's just 3 of us. And that way everybody can be included. Like if you're talking to someone, you can address both of them. And each person has a chance to contribute something to the conversation. So what I usually do is I wait until the person have spoken, and then I'll count to maybe 7 in my head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then I'll initiate something. I'll say something. It could be something from my table topics, just a general question. The number 1 question I tend to ask people that I think is interesting, because it tells me a lot about them. If you were to open your own business, what would that business be? That's just a curiosity of mine. I especially ask that question when I'm talking to people on these dating apps, these dudes. Yeah, what would it be? You'll be surprised at the answers that you get to these. Let's go on.
If you want to participate in the conversation, there's only one way to do it. You have to acknowledge yourself. You have to put yourself out there. Otherwise, you're going to stand around waiting for something that'll never happen. Number 2, you think too much. Do you overthink everything? Do you plan out a million different things to say without actually saying anything? If this sounds like you, I've got good news and bad news. The good news is that overthinking is natural and very common. But here's the bad news. It might be the real reason people keep ignoring you. If you're an overthinker, you might feel like you're participating more than you actually are. In your head, you're actively engaged. You're thinking about questions you could ask. You're considering different perspectives, but you're not saying anything out loud. So people don't realize that you're trying so hard. They think you're shy, quiet, or just not paying attention. They're ignoring you because they don't think you want to socialize. When you sit there in silence, it's like putting up a wall, and that wall scares people away. So, what's the answer? Try to vocalize your thoughts. It doesn't have to be something amazing or profound. Just let people know that you're not actually quiet or disconnected. Something as simple as saying, "I think that's a good idea," can make you seem like a more approachable person. And the more approachable you are, the more people will enjoy talking to you.
Okay, that's definitely a thought. Are you an overthinker? Yeah, I sometimes tend to overthink a lot of things, but I'm not one who I have a big personality. I just have a big personality. Google Google it when you get a chance. What does it mean to have a big personality? And then you will have an excellent idea of Sheila Truelove. Normally, I get along with people who have big personalities. Those are the ones who I find um, who don't take offense to things so easily. They are well adjusted. They walk into a room and they can make the party start and make it happen, something that was boring. And trust me when I tell you, Tubies, I could walk into a room that was boring. No one had hardly anything to say with it to each other. But when I'm done, I pick a topic that it's going to make everybody talk. So that's someone who has a big personality, and those are the type of people that I tend to get along with. I'm not going to even say the ones that I tend to like, but those are the ones that I seem to mesh. I mesh well with them. If you're someone who's passive and overly sensitive and, oh, what a drag, whatever.
Number 3, you're too negative. Pessimism is another reason why people get ignored. Without realizing it, you might become a constant source of negativity, and that might drive people away.
Yeah.
The simple truth is that people want to spend time with others who are positive and fun. People who can make the best of any situation, even if it's boring or awkward. Okay, let's say your friends are meeting for coffee. They're all excited to see each other, and they want to have a good time. But what if you can't stop whining about your life? That's going to ruin the mood for everybody else, right?
Yeah.
So the next time they go out for coffee, your friends may not invite you because they just want to enjoy each other's company, not sit and listen to you complain. In other words, if you're the kind of person who's always complaining, it's time to stop, because that negativity might be making you the odd man out.
Which is so true to some extent. But there are people in this world, Tubies, and I have experienced it firsthand, who people can't be happy for your happiness. You have some, they have the cliche, which I hate using cliches. At the same time, sometimes it does apply. There are some people, misery loves company. You're a person who's like the bubbles in champagne. You are jolly. You're a happy person. And when you get around these people, you're nothing but walking sunshine. And you're positive. You're positive and you're just so upbeat. You'll have people who honestly will hate you for that. They will. Because they're so miserable in their lives. And when you are so bubbly and so positive, it's an irritation. It's an irritation. I know a female who's like that. When I was hanging out with her, she would have a lot of things going on that she wasn't feeling good about. So I would try to, you know, help her not to focus on that so much. And I would try to make light of things, and I would try to be humorous. And I was always trying to, not even always trying to be, I was just being true to myself, you know. But with certain people, you have to dim your light. You have to water yourself down constantly. You have to put on the mask. And I want to put emphasis on that put on the mask part, because I found that this is what I have to do with my daughter. And my son, who used to be amazing, I mean, the bubbles and champagne, have a big personality when necessary. But the more he's been associated with my daughter, it's like the poor man is whatever. So this is what I mean. You have to go through life with some people like this. You can never be open and honest and truly who you are, because it gets on their last nerve. It just, it's horrible. And like I said, you have to water yourself down. You have to always make yourself to be less than what you are. So what this gentleman is saying here is true to some extent. At the same time, we live in a world, tubies, especially here in Albany where I live. Majority of these people are manically depressed, bipolar, schizophrenic, on some type of antipsychotic medication. So I have to constantly walk around like this. Hi. Yes, and you are fabulous. You are great. They want you to constantly blow smoke up there behind. They don't want you to tell them anything constructive. You have to walk around. You are the best. You're amazing. Everything about you is great. Yes, you're the man. You're the girl. You're wonder. I mean, that's exhausting. It's exhausting. Anyway, let's continue. I keep the mask. Gotta wear the mask with a lot of people. I gotta keep this on for my daughter. I bought this mask for her to try to send her a message. Baby, please. I could go into that. That'll be another video. Whatever.
Number 4, you assume the worst. Okay, let's say you're getting lunch when you see your friend standing across the room. You wave at them, but instead of waving back, they ignore you. Does that mean you're not friends anymore?
No.
Does that mean they hate you now?
No.
These sound like overreactions, but many people assume the worst.
Yeah?
They get stuck in these destructive trains of thought. They convince themselves that their whole friendship is falling apart. In the moment, it feels like a nightmare. But if you take a step back, you'll realize how insignificant it really is. Chances are your friend just didn't see you.
Hello?
They may have been thinking about something else, or maybe they were in the middle of a different conversation. But you automatically assume the worst and end up accidentally pushing your friend away. Sometimes people seem like they're ignoring you when they're really just preoccupied with something else.
I have to stop and pause because that is so true. Because I have had people tell me, Sheila, I thought that you was upset with me because I was saying hi to you and you didn't speak back. And I was like, really? I'm hoping that you know me a little bit better than that. I'm not like that, sweetheart. If I didn't respond to you, it's because I didn't hear you. I didn't hear you. Now, and I'm really good when it comes to ignoring people because I don't look them in the eye. I just don't look them in the eye. I'm good at ignoring the person and tuning people out. I'm great at that. At the same time, I don't usually make a practice out of that. So, people, we live in a very busy world, and sometimes people, let's think about how with the apps. My mind is usually preoccupied a lot when it comes to learning new things. Because we live in a world, the moment you become an expert at something, they upgrade it, they change it, and you got to relearn stuff. And I'm always with my mind, with always learning stuff. You know what I mean? Or I'm with my mind, I have some of my tubies who I've been speaking to, or I've been addressing their emails, and they've asked me questions, and my mind is sitting up there trying to figure out solutions for my tubies. I'm coming up with answers because that's who I am. I'm a problem solver. People bring problems, I like to solve them. People have there's an answer for every problem. There's a solution. So if my mind is like preoccupied like that, trust me when I tell you it's not that I'm ignoring you, especially if you're my family. If you're my family, I'm not ignoring you. I love you like crazy and all the above. I'm just preoccupied like that. When it comes to if you're my friend, nah, it's not about ignoring you. Like if I don't return a phone call, I have on my voicemail, leave your name and number. If I don't get back to you, I'm changing my life. And if you leave your name and number and I don't return the call, you may be one of the changes. I've had some of my friends say, well, since you didn't call me back, I must be one of the changes. No, sweetheart, it's not that. It's I'm busy. I have a full-time job. I have my ministry channel. I have my spiritual meetings that I go to. I have my fellowship meetings that I go to. And I'm doing volunteer work. I have this advice channel that I work with. I'm trying to battle to get my family out of some cult that they're caught up in and trying to put my family, piece it back together. So my mind is like totally busy. Not that I don't have time for you, because I do. I do. And as my friends know, I always get back to them. Oh, please. Look, if I don't return the call, I do text you. If I don't return the call or text you, then maybe you have some things to be concerned about. But I'm going to at least text you. You know? Anyway.
So the next time you're feeling left out, just make sure you're not just jumping to conclusions. Number 5, you try too hard. Many people start to panic when they're feeling ignored. They're so scared of being left out that they overcompensate. They try to be the funniest person in the room, the best entertainer, or the person with the most interesting stories. But the truth is, no one's expecting you to be the best at anything. In fact, when you try to stand out, you end up pushing people away because you're not being yourself. You're pretending to be something you're not, and other people will notice right away. Ultimately, people want to feel comfortable, and that means being yourself. Even if you're worried about being weird, acting weird is almost always better than trying too hard. Number 6.
I agree. The best thing to do is to always be yourself, be true to yourself instead of the mask, which I tend to do a lot with my kids, only with my kids, because they're the only ones who I really care about, whatever. And the mask thing has got to stop. You know, I have to be true to who I am. And if God made me a person who is bubbly and jolly and the bubbles and champagne, that's who I am. You know, they're going around certain things that happen to them in life. They're not handling it to, but you know, no, you can't be taking that stuff out on innocent people. You know, you get hurt out there by some people or what have you. You can't let that affect who you are. Stay the positive person that you are, the happy person that you are, and the jolly person that you are. And that's what I'm going to do. You know, I have my kids, I'm just having issues with my kids, as you can hear from me. That's the only pretty much what I really care about. Because when it comes to outsiders, I can handle all of that. I could say dead you and leave you, bye-bye, and don't look back. But when it comes to my family, that's important to me. So I'm still working through this, Stoobies. Just like you have things you need to improve on. Trust me when I tell you, Sheila True Love have so many things. Look at me up close. I still have so many things that I need to improve on also. And I'm working like hell. I'm working on it. Trust and believe.
Invisible body language. Sometimes people ignore you because of your body language. These nonverbal cues, often called invisible body language, discourage people from interacting with you because they tell people that you're closed off, that you don't want to be social, or that you're not confident in yourself. Some common signs include staring at the ground, shaking your legs, or folding your body inward. All of these pieces of body language communicate the same thing to the people around you. They say, "Don't talk to me." So that's exactly what people do. People may be ignoring you because you're subtly telling them to. So if you want people to feel more comfortable approaching you, use your body language to let them know it's okay. Number 7, you miss the mark. No matter where you are, there are certain social cues that you have to pay attention to, certain standards that you have to follow if you want to blend in. Some are easy and obvious, and others are a little bit harder to pick up on. But if you miss these social cues, people might feel uncomfortable around you, and you might end up feeling ignored. So, what do these social cues look like? All right, let's say you're feeling super energetic. You're ready to socialize. You're excited to talk to people. Normally, those are good traits, right? Outgoing people attract other people, but not if the rest of the room is quiet and laid back. If you're the only one who's loud and upbeat, it's going to throw people off, and they might ignore you. It works the same way for other social cues like talking too much or talking about the wrong things. You have to participate in the conversation without going overboard and talk about things that other people like to talk about, not just the subjects you like. If you can match these social standards, you've got nothing to worry about. But if you miss the mark, you might feel left out.
Let's think about what are some of the things that most people like to talk about. There's a lot of people like to talk about relationships. People like to talk about what are you working on? What are your plans? People like to talk about movies, the latest movies that you've seen. People like to talk about current events. People like to talk about I think people like to talk about, if you're dealing with creative people, they like to talk about art, education, fashion, games, because you have a lot of people who are gamers, your favorite movies, sense of humor, comedy clubs, music. People like to talk about other people. They talk politics, relationships. We're talking about their dogs, their pets. They talk about the news. They like to talk about life in general. What about finance? People like to talk about that, ways to make more money. What about entertainment? What about auto? You talk about cars. You talk about sports. Some people like to talk about the latest celebrities, the latest gossip. Then some people like to talk about their family. They like to talk about food, history, philosophy, religion, even though that's a hard one somewhat. How about your favorite TV programs? Just travel? What about just society in itself? And we are now, people like to talk about relationships. There are so many topics and so many things to talk about when you are dealing with people. Most people that I talk about lately with my tubies, everything is about some dude and how he's dogging me and how I'm getting hurt. And God, there's so many other things to talk about. Like, what are your goals? What are your dreams? Talk to me about some of your hobbies. If you were to open up your own business and you had the money and the ability to open up your own business, what would that business be? I'm always interested in talking about things like that. But anyway, let's listen further.
Number 8, you try to be cool. Many people try to attract attention by playing it cool.
Yeah.
They sit back, look as confident as they can, and expect other people to come to them. But instead of attracting others, playing it cool usually pushes people away. That distant attitude makes people feel uncomfortable and awkward around you. In their mind, you think you're too cool to socialize or have fun, and that makes you much less approachable. So, instead of trying to act cool, be nice, friendly, and welcoming.
Yeah.
Make it easy for people to relate and feel secure around you, because ultimately, that's the kind of attitude that draws people in. Number 9, you ask too much. When you feel insecure about something, you might get this itch to overcompensate. You try to solve every problem. You try to put out every fire. You go out of your way to make sure no one is ever mad at you. Even if you have the best intentions,
Now, this is something that I can identify with. You're trying to solve every problem. Guilty. Guilty. Because when people are sitting here talking to me about their problems or some hardship that they're going through, or something that's wrong, I'm a problem solver. Like I said, I've been working with attorneys for well over 35 years in the legal field, and that's what attorneys do. You have a problem, they solve it. You have a issue, they come up with answers and solutions. So I think maybe I've been involved in the legal field too much, and I need to learn how to be more of a listener, because sometimes people don't want you to solve their problems. And I've also learned that, listen, Tubies, if people don't ask you for advice, don't offer it. That's why I said instead of me being a life coach, I'm an advice coach. Because as an advice coach, these are people who are asking for my advice. And that's why I charge such a little fee of $7. $7, that's dirt cheap. Because that's people who genuinely want my advice, you know? But this point that he's making here on Top Think, I'm guilty of that. Always trying to solve people's problems. And I've got to learn to stop doing that. Trust me when I tell you, like I said, we all have something that we're working on. We all have something that we're trying to improve on and become better at. And Sheila True Love, I'm no better and I'm no different.
Constant worrying frustrates the people in your life. Not just because you're always doubting yourself, but also because you're asking too much. Okay, imagine you're working on a project for your boss. You want to make sure everything turns out perfectly, so you email them about every little detail.
No.
Eventually, they're going to get frustrated or ignore you altogether. Why? Because you're asking way too much, and it's driving them crazy. Number 10, consistent rambling. Many people that feel ignored tell the same kinds of stories. They're long, they're confusing, and they put the entire room to sleep. All right, let's say someone asks you a question like, what'd you do this weekend? A good answer would be something short and sweet. Yes. You might say, I played basketball with some friends and then went to the movies.
Yeah, you ever talk to people who are long-winded? Sometimes I'm long-winded, and I'm guilty of that too. Because some things in life, you have to go into details. And the reason why you have to go into details about some things is so you won't be misunderstood. I am the type of person, I don't like repeating myself. I like to give you the information. If you need to take notes or you need to record it or you need to document things, by all means do so. You know, I like to be as short as possible. I like to answer a question. When someone asks me a question, I like to answer it in just a sentence. Okay? And not a long paragraph. At the same time, I'm sorry. Some things you got to do it in detail. Because if you don't do it in detail, they're going to take it out of context. They're going to use it the wrong way. So you have to break it down with hopes that we never have to have this discussion again. I think I've given you all the information that you're ever going to need. And hopefully I don't have to repeat myself. That's the reason why I may go into details sometimes.
Kind of answer is perfect. It's simple and it stimulates a more engaging conversation. The other person can easily ask, what movie did you see? Or where'd you play basketball? From there, you can go back and forth, making the conversation fun for everyone. But that's where many people mess things up. When someone asks about their weekend, they ramble for 15 minutes about every single thing they did. They touch on every tiny detail. And suddenly that back and forth conversation turns into a one-sided lecture. And
normally when people do things like that, it's because they're nervous. They're nervous and they're overly talkative, or they're just nervous. And I think a person who is skilled with social skills and someone who has a lot of experience in social situations, they're going to recognize that. I would recognize that if you're constantly babbling, either you have no one to talk to at home and you're lonely and you finally have someone to talk to, or when it comes to just how was your weekend and you got to go into a whole freaking spiel and you got to go into a whole freaking 15 minutes. Really, honey? Really? That's not something that's important, you know? And normally when people are like that, what I notice is, what I feel inside, ooh, okay, this person is long-winded. Let me listen to them. Why? Because they obviously are lonely or they're nervous. They're nervous. So when I see someone who's nervous like that, I know how to put them at ease. I know how to make them feel comfortable and at ease. And when you notice how you put people at ease, they're not as long-winded. They're more relaxed. They more give an answer in a sentence, just a sentence, sweetheart. I don't need a paragraph. I just need a sentence. They eventually catch it. They get it.
Not fun for anyone. In general, people have pretty short attention spans.
Yeah.
You might think your story's interesting, but you'll probably lose your audience in the first 20 to 30 seconds. So just keep your stories quick and detail-oriented. If you can do that, people will...
How are you going to say keep your answers quick and detail-oriented? How can you go into detail if it's quick? You can't go into details if it's quick. Like, I've had some people, when I send them a text, they felt the text was too long. It's because there's no other way to say this. If they could, you know what, I challenge them when they say something like that to me. I challenge them and I say, I know you said this text was long. Can you show me a shorter version of how to explain this in a shorter version? Guess what happens, Tubies? They can't do it because it depends on the topic we're talking about. If we're talking about something like how was your weekend, come on already. We don't have to go into a freaking novel. Or if I have a channel where I'm giving you instructions on how to make a YouTube video. Have you ever seen these things? They go into a whole spiel until 2 minutes you're in, 2 minutes, 3 minutes you're in before they get to the point. If I'm going to give instructions like that, like an instruction video, I'm going to say, here's how to make a YouTube channel, a YouTube video. Step 1, you do bap, bap, bap. Step 2, bap, bap, bap. I'm not going into the history of it and what happened to me in life, and I'm not doing that. Now, I have some of my my topics on my channel where I'll put the question out there like how to revenge on a narcissist. So people want me to say, okay, this is revenge on a narcissist, step 1. Bap, bap, bap. I can't do that. I have to go into a little detail on certain things. Like I said, it depends on the topic. There are some topics that you should be no more than a sentence because people got a lot on their plate. People are they got a lot, man. And it's true. Most people this day and age have a very short attention span. And the reason why their attention span is so short is because, come on already. But something else I learned when it came to my children that I didn't know, but I've learned now that they're older. I had no idea that with my children, it takes them a longer time to process things than it takes me. What would take me speed lightning to process, and I already got it, I get it, it would take them hours or a whole day. It takes them a whole day to process something. And then when you try to share something else with them, they're like, Mom, this is overload or it's overload. Whereas I get a lot of information daily, Tubies, and it's coming at me like lightning, coming at Sheila True Love, coming at me. I process it like this. But what I have to do is to learn how to use empathy. And I have to learn how to, understand that everybody is not the same. Everybody don't process things as quickly as others. So now that I know that, when I'm dealing with my children, and I put a lot on that with my kids because, man, I'm learning so much about them as they're older. I gave, this is not to be offensive and it's not to be rude. I gave them way too much credit. I didn't think my daughter had no self-esteem. I didn't think my son had issues with living in his own skin. And I thought my son could process stuff like this. And he can't. He really can't. Now, you know what he would say to me? Why are you, whatever, dude. I'm just trying to make a point here. Everybody can't process information at the same speed that you can. And trust me when I tell you, that's an eye-opener for me. Just like I was thinking about my ex-husband. Normally they have a Bible study with the person for 1 year, 6 months or 1 year for them to get it and for things to, work inside their head. With my ex-husband, what would take somebody 6 months or a year, it took him 5 years to process stuff. 5 years, something that would take you and me, Tubies, 30, what? It would take us less than a year to process this. It took him 5 years? Really? And also when it comes to my children, what would take me an hour, or maybe, let me give it a good, okay, it'll take me maybe half, not even. It'll take me maybe 3 or 4 hours to digest it, process it, digest it, analyze it, dissect it, and come up with an answer and a solution. It'll take me record time to do that. But for them, especially my son, and my daughter, she's no offense, God knows I'm not trying to be offensive. She's slow. You're slow. So what I have to do, and I've learned, is that I will share an idea, one idea with them at a time, and I will let them take, as I don't know, 3 strikes you're out. I'll give you 3 days to process that, man. Because I had no idea. I didn't understand. But I'm learning more and more about them as years go on. That's what life is all about, learning and more, right? I think I've been kind of mean to them because I kept expecting them to be as fast as me, and they're not. They're really not. And that's not arrogance, but I have to keep it real with you. And they're just not. Anyway, I just wanted to share this with you in terms of so many people feeling that they are being ignored, and why you may be actually being ignored, or you may feel that you're being ignored. So again, this is Sheila Truelove. Like I said, I get a kick, and I live. That's what gets me up in the morning every day, because I'm going to learn something new. I know I'm going to learn something new. So I figured if I get this excites the hell out of me, I was hoping it would excite my tubies too. But again, like I said, I'm learning every day, like you. Everybody's not the same. Everybody's different. But like I said, man, waking up in the morning, my motivation, my inspiration is, what am I going to learn new today? Because I'm damn sure going to learn something new. And as I learn it, my tubies, my Teletubbies, I will share it with you. Why? Because I love you. I genuinely love you. Until next time, this is Sheila Truelove, truly loving you, and we will definitely talk again. Bye for now. Bye, babies.